Hey, I'm Jesse. Let's look at Acts chapter 13 and see one of the original commissioning of missionaries at the birth of the New Testament church. This is Acts chapter 13, beginning in verse 1. Now, in the church at Antioch, there were prophets and teachers: Barnabas, Simeon, who was called Niger, Lucius of Cyrene, Manaen, a close friend of Herod the Tetrarch, and Saul. As they were worshiping the Lord and fasting, the Holy Spirit said, "Set apart for me Barnabas and Saul for the work to which I have called them." Then, after they had fasted, prayed, and laid hands on them, they sent them off. It's a big deal. Barnabas was a legend. Barnabas wasn't even really his name. He was just called this because he was such a huge encourager. He was one of the first guys at the birth of the New Testament church. While Peter was there, while they were in Jerusalem, to just go sell an entire plot of land and then just give all the proceeds to this newborn church. And so they called him son of encouragement, Barnabas. And then there's Saul. I mean, he was the author of much of the New Testament. These guys were aces, man. A pastor that whose ministry has been impactful nationwide, has had a huge impact on church planting. J.D. Greer's church in North Carolina, Summit Church, they have a saying, and that is that if you stay on staff, you stick around too long, you must not be that good, because they're constantly doing this. They're sending out their best. I mean, this was a punch in the gut to lose Barnabas and Saul to the mission field, to send them out from Antioch. It was Jerusalem, and then Antioch kind of became the new hub for the church. It was really the epicenter of the megachurch, and this is where Paul and Barnabas, two of their heaviest hitters, their most valued and necessary servants, are being sent out, and it's all the Holy Spirit's will. Would you pray about God's will for you? I'm gonna hate to lose you, but this is something that the Holy Spirit of God laid on their hearts. Notice they were fasting and praying. The Holy Spirit laid this on their hearts, and then they fasted and prayed again, and then they sent out the Holy Spirit. We know the Holy Spirit sent them out because the very next verse confirms it. Verse 4, so being sent out by the Holy Spirit, they went down to Seleucia. From there, they sailed to Cyprus. So this is a practice in the church that goes all the way back to the book of Acts. And it's something that, as a pastor, I got to prepare myself to do, and I want to know who's next. Where it's not just a one-off. It's not just a quick trip to go encourage some church planters, or to go minister to missionaries, or just go speak to underground church pastors and encourage them and lift them up and then send them back on their way. But it's like, I think that God's calling my family to go live in another country and share the gospel. If that's something that God's laid on your heart because of this evangelism series that concludes with global missions, then you let me know, because we'll go straight to Acts chapter 13, and we'll know that this is a continuation as we're worshiping the Lord and fasting. That's what we've done. We've been worshiping in this series. We've been fasting in this series. By the way, I've got a lot of cool stories to tell you about what God did as people were beginning to fast. Set apart for me Barnabas and Saul for the work to which I've called them. And if the Holy Spirit sets you apart for work to which he's called you, then we got to be obedient. The precedent is set right here. If God calls you to go away, to go and help spread the word and to become a missionary to another country, you and your whole family, man, you let us know and you pray about exactly that. If that's not something that God's called you to do, then you pray for those whom are so called. Are you ready? Pray.